Hey everyone, what's up? Today I'm gonna do a book review video of what I've read over the past weekend. This one is called The Psychology of Money. I really loved it, and in this video I want to share some of my thoughts I learned from reading this book. Now, I have a lot of reasons I want to recommend this to you. First and foremost, this book is just really great content and really inspiring, and we're going to talk about those lessons I learned later in this video. Second, I made a video in the past about learning English, and some of you have been asking me to recommend some books to read. Now, this one in particular is very well structured, split into 20 short lessons, so you can pick it up anytime you want without losing the context. Those lessons are full of very interesting stories in the history of America, and it's very entertaining and very easy to read. In this video, I want to pick 5 most important lessons that I learned from reading this book. These lessons either really reinforced my common beliefs and goals in terms of personal finance, or made me realize that there is something that I could have thought or done differently. Starting with lesson number 1 is that no one is crazy in this world. Everybody is doing something they think is right, and it's no exception with what they're doing with their money. But the caveat is, people view this world differently, and what others think is right might be totally wrong to you. Our whole lifetime only consists of an extremely tiny fraction of what has actually happened in this world. But that shaped around 80% of how we think the world is running. If you were born in 1970s, during your teens and 20s, the American stock market increased almost tenfold. But if you were born in 1950s, the market went literally nowhere in a similar span of 10 plus years. Because of this, these two persons of course would have completely different views of how the stock market would work. I can read about what it's like to lose almost half of your assets during the 2008 recessions. But I would never have the emotional scar because I was just a kid who had zero knowledge of the stock market at that time. On the other hand, post 2009, which is the period of time where I got to learn about money and the stock market, the American stock has been in the longest bull market in the history that has already lasted more than 13 years. And especially when you see the return of the last 3 years, it would almost seem stupid if you don't put your money into the stock market. I gotta admit, we all think we know how the world works, but we've only experienced just a tiny sliver of it. So don't be too judgmental about what others are doing with their money, because we all think of the world differently and we're all playing a very different game. Lesson number 2 is about the ultimate purpose that money can be used for. And I've become more and more in belief that the answer is freedom. That you have total control of your time to be able to say, I can do whatever I want today when you wake up in the morning. And that's probably the greatest intrinsic value of money. With just a little bit of money in your bank, you will be able to take a couple of sick days off. With even a little bit more, like a 6 months of emergency fund, you won't be too terrified by your boss, because you know your life won't be screwed up if you have to take some time off to find a new job. And this is life-changing, because as much as people say money isn't directly related to happiness, it gives you a prospect that how it can be leveraged to achieve happiness. The greatest things in life, like quality friendships, being part of something bigger than ourselves, spending quality, unstructured time with our loved ones, these are really hard to achieve if you're financially poor. Lesson number 3 is about saving money. One thing I've recently realized is that building wealth has little to do with your income level or investment returns. But it does a lot with your savings rate and what kind of lifestyle you want to maintain. And that lifestyle, from what this book is called, is determined by your ego, by your desire, by how much you care about others think of you, or you think how others think of you. The great thing about saving money is that this is something that you have 100% control over compared to how the stock market goes, even how your income grows. Lesson number 4 is that the tail events are everywhere. Tail events are low probability events arising at the right end of a normal distribution curve. To give you an example, Walt Disney didn't become successful until the Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs premiered in 1937. They produced more than 400 cartoons, but most of them lost their fortune. The reason a lot of companies or people are successful nowadays is because they failed many more times already. In 2018, 1 out of 500 companies in S&P 500 drove more than 6% of the total returns, and that company was Amazon. And Amazon's growth is almost entirely due to Prime and Amazon Web Service, which itself are tail events in a company that has experimented with hundreds of products, including Fire Phone, which you probably never heard about. But you see, most of our attention goes to things that are huge, profitable, famous, or influential. We only pay attention to a role model's successes. We overlook that their gains came from only a small percent of their actions. That makes our own failures, losses, and setbacks feel like we're doing something wrong. But you need to realize that's the tail events. They could be as wrong as you, but in the context of investing, George Soros said, it's not whether you're right or wrong that's important, but how much money you earn when you're right and how much you lose when you're wrong. Lesson number 5 is that reasonable is more important than rational. A lot of times we spend too much time on numbers and focusing on too much on outcome without considering our feelings. To give an example, the author of the book paid for their home with all cash without mortgage. Just looking at it from a financial perspective, this seems like a no-brainer stupid decision. We all know that with a low interest mortgage rate, plus considering the inflation, you can leverage the same amount of money to put into other investments like the stock market and have a much better off return over the long run. But to them, the psychology effect of being independent and not owing the bank the money far exceeds the known financial gain with a mortgage. Of course, I'm not defending this action myself, but you see, our goal isn't to be coldly rational, but psychologically reasonable. Alright, that's all the content for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I highly recommend reading it yourself. If you like this sort of a book review videos, make sure to subscribe to this channel and hit the like button for the Bilibili algorithm. Comment below and let me know what books you've been reading. Until next time, see you.